What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we have another regional report here, and this time around it's Matt who got second place at Fort Wayne with the Seismitoad Giratina deck. Now this one's a little bit different because Matt played like a Silent Lab, and we talk about that. And you see here, he didn't play like 4 Super Scoop Ups, he did play 4 Crushed Hammers, but he did play 2 Enhanced Hammers. And a lot of these lists that we've seen over the past couple interviews actually play like 2 muscle bands and 2 head ringers. And we see that Matt did play 3 muscle band and 3 head ringers here. But hopefully you enjoyed this interview, and thanks for watching. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. Today we're doing a regional report, and what's your name?
My name is Matthew Price.
Alrighty, and what regionals are we talking about?
Talking about Fort Wayne Regionals from 2015.
Alright. Now we know that you played the Seismitoad Giratina deck. Now before we talk about your deck list, let's go over the matches that you played and how they went.
Alright, so round 1 I played against Tyrantrum. That was a deck that I assumed going in was going to be kind of popular, but really felt like just I had a good matchup against it. Tyrantrum, I have hammers, I have things, this shouldn't be fine. Didn't realize they played Kabalion until I played this guy, and somehow won game 1, and then game 2 went to time, but he just kind of ran me out of energy, and that was very stressful, to say the least. Round 2, what did I play against round 2? Round 2 I played against Frank in Swiss with Evil Tall, and could have won that game, but I prized my last laser, and then, whatever, lost. Round 3, I played against a Plasma deck, which is very interesting. Plasma Lugia. I was just really confused the entire time. That was interesting, to say the least. Round 4. There are a lot of rounds to try and remember.
Oh yeah, I know.
Round 4, I played against Manectric Garbodor, which I won. It was very, very good matchup. Round 5 was... trying to remember. It was a Vespiquen, I believe, which it was Dylan Bryan with Vespiquen.
There you
That's
go.
right. And that one also felt like it was a good matchup. Toad is really all you need, and then you come in later with a Giratina and you just kind of clean up. So that wasn't too bad. I had to kind of learn how to play it on the fly, but
That's always fun.
much like every matchup, because the only deck I play tested against was Blastoise. So, so basically every round I was trying to learn how to play against the deck. But after that, I played against an Evil Tall, and that game was awesome because I got to start Keldeo both times, and then just dead Drew, and he gets us me twice for 6 cards. So that game was awesome, a lot of fun. Next round, what round would that be? 8? 7?
Yeah.
That would be... I played against, another Mega Manectric, and we tied. And then... I feel like there was another one that I'm missing.
Right now you're X12, 412 right now, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because you said it was around 7, so 412 right now.
Yeah, and I played against... Well, my last round I played against an Excelgor,
Okay.
which was really weird. I beat that, and then... I don't remember what I played that last round.
It must have been like an easy 2 if you don't remember then.
Yeah. It was something. It was something. I don't quite remember what it was. But,
So day 1 you were 612?
yeah. 6-2-1.
Oh, 621, yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6-2-1 on the bubble, which is very stressful, by the way, because I was on the bubble at Lancaster, ended up 38th, but my resistance was really strong because my only 2 losses were the guy at the, 6-0 table who was able to ID into cut, and then Frank Diaz, which I just knew as soon as I lost, that was fine resistance for me. And then Dylan Bryan was on there, and then it was pretty good, to say the least. I got in there at 29th, which was pretty surprising, and it was my first cut at a major event, so it was pretty ecstatic. I knew a judge, and he had looked at the results, and he just kind of gave me like one of these, just like one of those head nods.
Yeah.
He was just He's like, you got it, but he couldn't tell me. And then I was actually the last one of all my friends to know. They all went and checked ahead of me, and then when I went to go check, they all just came, kind of ran up and told me. I was like, oh, okay, well,
That's
thanks.
like that's why I use like whenever I'm on the bubble too. I never look. I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna wait till everybody else looks. I'm gonna wait till last because I know I'm on the bubble. I'm just gonna wait.
Well, I was trying to go look, but people kept stopping me and like asking me if I made it. And I was like, I don't know yet. He said, let me go check. And then eventually, as I was walking up to the streets, like 5 people came up and told me. I was like, well, there you go. Never mind.
I think I'm in, unless all my friends are messing with me. Oh, that'd be worse if you got 33, like 33rd. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you got in, and you got 33rd. Like, just kidding, you didn't.
I had a lot of people come up and tell me, "Oh, you should make it in, unless you don't." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. If I, it's either one or the other." So
Yeah, you're
yeah,
gonna make it in, or if you don't, then you don't make it in. Like, well,
yeah,
duh. Like, there's only two
yeah.
options I have.
Thank you for reminding me that I might not make it in. But no, it was a lot of fun. Really had a good time in Swiss, and just got a little bit unlucky in a couple of those matchups to kind of put me in this position I didn't necessarily have to be in.
Okay, so what happened day two?
Day two, I went so much better. Um, it just felt better. I was far more relaxed. I was just happy to make it there. I was fine if I didn't even make it in the top 8. Just being able to cut my first big event was pretty good for me. But I ended up playing a Landy Bats in the next round, round 10, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I played against an Evil Tall, which I beat. I think that was Jimmy McClure with Evil Tall. It was funny because just before our round started, he was talking to like Dustin and a few other people, and he was like, "Yeah, I just beat a Toad. I'm 5-0 against Toad on the weekend," and then I was his first Toad loss, and I was like, "Yes." Those like small moral victories that just kind of hit home a little bit,
I guess he got
but
overconfident. Like karma came back to bite him or something like. Yeah,
I
you're
guess
not undefeated anymore, buddy.
it was something like that. It felt good though. I felt like I avenged all the other Toad players that he beat
Yeah,
a little
true.
bit. But after that, I played Vespiquen and 2-0'd that. Then I played the Mirror, and this was my first time playing the Mirror, so I really didn't know what to do. And I'd kind of discussed it with a few friends, like, what do I do in the Mirror? I'm going to hit the Mirror at some point. Like, I got to know how to play against the Mirror.
Yeah, true.
And we, me, and mostly me, I decided that whoever Quaking punches first in the Mirror just wins. Like, you cannot lose if you Quaking punch first in the Mirror. And going going second is almost actually better because you have that chance to get that first Quaking off punch off without like a flare grunt or anything else like that. Because going first, you can throw a head ringer on a Toad, but they're gonna super scoop that thing up, and it's not gonna matter. So going second's a lot better. Ended up just getting 2-0'd though because I couldn't get a Quaking punch off, and he just ran hotter than I did. Just fine. And then the 5th round, I played against Pram with his Toad Bats and 2-0'd him. So pretty smooth sailing throughout day 2.
Yeah. Now, okay, so you talked about earlier how this is your first tournament actually cutting like top 32, but now you've made it to top 8. Are you just like super excited you made top 8? Like, what's going through your like head right now?
Going into top 8, it was really weird because I didn't. It was as it was before certain events transpired. There would be one, whatever I was, 10, 3, and 1 that missed cut. So I was again just assuming I would miss cut once again. But so I was pretty nervous about that. But some things happened, and someone in top cut got disqualified, and I'm not going to pretend to know all the details about it. But and we all ended up getting in, so it was a big relief. I was happy to be there more than anything. If I lost in top 8, I wasn't going to be upset. Like I made it there. I I felt good. I was
Yeah.
feeling okay. A lot of people came up to me and tried to give me words of encouragement that they said in ways that made me just feel a lot more anxious than I should have. a lot of "don't mess this up" and "win it all," like things like that are encouraging. But like at the same time, I'm like, okay, thank you
Now you're
for
putting more
reminding.
pressure on me, kind of thing.
Yeah, but no, everyone was super nice about it. Everyone was really supportive. I got to thank all my friends for showing up. Had a had a pretty big squad once going into top four there. Um, just a lot of the Ohio people there. So shout out to you guys, Mahone, JW, all you guys. Thank you for being my cheerleaders for the day. Uh, but actually, during top four, they judges had to have them move back. There were just too many people trying to watch my match at the exact same time because it wasn't the one that was on stream. So they were just pushing people back. It's pretty good feeling. Felt good going into top eight. So
Okay. So what happened in top eight?
top eight, I played the mirror. Um,
After you just lost to it.
after I just lost the mirror, so I was like, okay, my regionals run has ended. That's fine. I'm not gonna be mad. But ended up losing the first game. He quaking punched first. Second game, I had called going first. Mid six pile, shuffling, getting ready for set up, I decided that I wanted to go second. Switched to going second, got my quaking punch off first, pretty much won. Um, there's a little bit of fight if you don't get that first quaking punch off, but if you can't keep the DCs off, you really can't do too much. But third game, same thing. He opted to go first this time, and I was able to quaking punch before him. Unfortunately, that's how the mirror goes. Um, you quaking punch, you win. If you don't, you lose.
True.
So it was pretty straightforward. It was a little bit nerve wracking because I don't have a lot. My deck wasn't so much made to combat the mirror. It was more for everything else. So I knew that the mirror was going to be pretty weak for me, but I figured I could pull it out.
So going to top four, like you said, this match is not streamed, but you saw people like cheering for you, watching for it.
Mhm.
But how did it end up going?
I played Roscoff on top four, and first game I started Hoopa with a bunch of stuff I couldn't use, and I got donked on turn two. So I was like, okay, my regionals run has ended. I don't feel bad. This is my initial thoughts every time I lost. Regionals run over.
It's over. It's all
They,
over. I lost one game. It's over.
uh, game two, I got a lot of flack from my friends during this series because I was just extremely lucky the entire time. Not a whole lot of skill in this series. Um, I got a lot of hammer flips when I needed them. Got a lot of lucky breaks when I needed them. He played a Xerosic and an Enhanced Hammer in his Night March, which was really weird, but it really helped him. In that second game, I was just like, I'm going to get a Giratina going. Like, let's just go. That's not how that matchup goes at all. You just quaking punch until you can get a Giratina, which I didn't realize until the end of the match. But I think that game I ended up only playing 3 energy. I played 2 double dragon and a double colorless, and won somehow. He had me at a point at the end of the game where he Zerosicked my double dragon off of an active Giratina, and I top decked a double dragon for the Giratina, and then next turn he Lysandered something, and I top decked the floats. It was crazy. I was just top decking like it was nobody's business, and I could hear people just talking over there. And the turn that I top decked the double dragon, um, I could just hear some people going like, "What the hell?" I just out of the corner of my eye. They didn't even try and make it stop. They were just like, "He's so lucky." I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly. This is the only reason I had to win. Like, this is all I have." And I got a little bit of a chuckle out of that. But game three went a lot smoother because I realized that you just Seismitoad for a little bit, quaking punch a lot, and then go from there. So that game went a lot better. But again, a lot of flips went my ways. I don't remember if it was game 2 or 3, but he on his first turn he night marched for 160 and couldn't knock out my Toad, which was huge. So
Mhm.
I was able to super scoop that up and take all that damage off and set him back a whole turn. So that was really big. But overall, that series was just pure luck. Just don't know how I got anywhere close to a victory on that one.
But we'll take those wins. We'll take those wins for sure.
And we'll take him.
Exactly. So now in the finals, you're going against Frank Diaz, which I think you said it was one of your losses in day one, right? Correct.
My second round loss in
Okay,
day one.
so now you need a redemption here, right? You need to beat him. But like regardless, like right now, you're at the finals. You got
Yeah,
the 2 round bye for nationals, which is great.
yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. So what happened in the finals?
Um, well, going into the finals, I was very convinced that I would not win. I had played against him before. I already knew Evil Tall is a bad matchup for the deck. Talked to people playing Giratina that day, and they said, "Oh, I'd love to play against Evil Tall." I'm like, I don't know how because that deck is very good against you. Because normally you can just, you can put headringers on Keldeos instead of float zones, and you can put headringers on EXs and they can't attack. But with Evil Tull or anything with energy acceleration, you can put a float stone or a headringer on an Evil Tull all you want, but if they keep attaching energy to it, it honestly doesn't even matter. Um, and if they play enough baby Evil Tull, 2 or 3 in a game, you really can't keep up with that energy acceleration, no matter how many hammers you run.
Sure.
So the best thing I could do is try and get a Silent Lab with a Giratina and just kind of hope for the best there. Um, he ended up attacking a lot with Darkrai, which I thought was weird, but at the same time, that's what he drew into, and he just needed attackers and things on the bench. So I understood it. But that was pretty good for me to be able to headringer those instead of Evil Talls. It felt like um, more of less wasteful. So
Yeah.
but going into top the finals was yeah I pretty much accepted my fate almost because I know how good of a player Frank Diaz is. I'm not gonna try and say that he's bad or anything because that'd be ridiculous. Um, he's very good. He's very smart. I think he proved that in that series. So and he definitely proved it to me in Swiss in the first day. So I knew I was gonna have a lot of competition. It's going to be very difficult. Um, really, I just had to hope for a really bad first turn. If I can get that, the game is more or less sealed for me,
Sure.
which is what happened in the first game. Definitely, he couldn't get enough stuff going where he wasn't dead drawing the entire time. The second 2 games, he had enough steam to get him going, which still ended up being pretty close. So I'm happy with the series overall. A few minor errors on I think both of our parts, but mostly more or less me. Kind of threw away that win, but I'll take it. Second place at a regional is not too shabby.
Yeah.
Largest regional in history, like whatever.
Yeah. First time cutting the regionals, you get second place. You get those 2 buys, like I said. You get the, like what 115 points or 35. How much? How like?
35.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's. I'll take that any day of the week.
whatever. I know.
Alrighty,
Yeah.
man. Well,
Well,
congratulations on getting second. That is amazing, like I said.
thank you,
Uh,
thank you.
I think it was like the biggest regionals ever as well. There was like
Yep.
470 something. So
490 masters.
there you go. 490. Yeah, so close to 500. There we go. So
Yeah.
490, biggest regionals ever, and you got second place. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I can't complain. Can't complain about that at all. Um,
exactly.
now I can add that to my list of accomplishments, so it doesn't feels a little bit more beefed up rather than top 64 regional 2014. That was probably one of my favorite things to come out of that was Andrew Mahone was nice enough to add to my list of accomplishments. I don't know if you saw that picture. It was on
Yeah, with the
Verbank.
cool hat and stuff
Yeah,
like
cool
that.
hat, nice guy, likes bears. It's pretty. It was accurate. Accurate to say the least.
Did they actually
So,
have that on the actual Pokemon thing?
no, that was a Snapchat that he took.
Okay, okay.
But if it did, man,
I didn't know because I
you
didn't
get
watch it live. I just saw like the pictures of that, and I was just laughing. I was like, "Did Pokemon really put this?" Like, alrighty, man. But I guess the very first question is, why did you decide to play this Seismitoad Giratina deck?
honestly, I was thinking about it, thinking about what happened after Lancaster, because at Lancaster, I had no idea what I was going to play. I ended up playing Speedway Quaza. Finished the same record, 6-2-1 at 38 seed. Missed day 2, but I learned a lot from the top 32, top 16, top 8 results. And what I saw was there's a lot of Mega Manectric Garbodor. Blastoise is on a decline. We see Night March kind of popping up. We see Vespiquen doing very well. Jimmy O'Brien winning the whole thing with it. A lot of decks like that, and honestly, this seemed to be the best play going into regionals. I actually convinced one of my friends who also made top 32 to play this deck, but he decided to play it with bats instead, which is something we had discussed earlier. But yeah, this deck just feels like it has a lot of good matchups against everything. Even Evil Tall, which I consider probably one of its worst or not worse or what worst matchups. Uh, it can be pretty even. It can be. I say it was 60-40 in Evil Tall's favor every time, unless you have some sort of weird tech like you threw in a Deden and something in there. But but even then, like your bad matchups aren't even that bad. Blastoise you can beat. Evil Tall you can beat. Um, I think that's the two main decks that are bad for it. The mirror is pretty 50-50. It just all depends on having a good start. But Night March with this deck, really good matchup. Vespiquen, I consider that a good matchup, even though it can be a little bit rough at sometimes. You just as long as you can figure out when to switch to Giratina, it's fine. And that's what a lot of this deck is. It's knowing when to switch to attacking with Giratina from Seismitoad. If you can figure that out, you'll be golden. But no, everything just seemed to fall into this deck's favor throughout the day, um, or from what I saw from Lancaster. So that was basically the main reason, definitely.
Right. Now, in your list, you did play like the one Zerosic, the one Hex Maniac, the one Getsus. And those are all like kind of like techie supporters, which is kind of weird to call those techie supporters still.
Yeah.
But what was your favorite tech supporter?
Um. Man, it's a hard one. Like Zero Sig has to come in third out of those three. I use Zero Sig the least out of all of them. It was pretty good though. Um, I mean, it's rough, man. It's rough. Probably Getsus. Getsus is probably like mm, top five cards in the deck. Top five best cards in this deck is definitely Getsus. Because with Getsus, you turn any potential Blastoise matchup into a decent matchup. You turn Night March into an even better matchup. Just things like that. It turns your good matchups into better matchups. It turns your bad matchups into better matchups as well. So Getsus is definitely the player of the day. MVP for sure.
All right. Now, in your list, you did play like three Crushing Hammer and two Enhanced Hammer. Did you ever wish you played like the four Crushing and one Enhanced instead?
This was something that I was going back and forth on. I felt like, and I still feel that Enhanced Hammer is an extremely good card. It has always been one of those cards that I want in every single one of my deck lists just because it's so good. Every deck plays Special Energy. That card never goes to waste. You'll always find a use for it, and it doesn't take up a supporter spot. Which is why mainly I took out the Team Flare Grunts and I put in these Enhanced Hammers for the most part. Um, Flare Grunt is good. It's really good in the mirror, but in other matchups, it's one of those supporters where you can't really justify using it, and you can't really justify using a Versus Seeker on it. And I really didn't like it that much. I had the one Zerosic in there still to help out with the mirror and stuff like that. Um, but the two Enhanced Hammer definitely were really useful, especially when you're going up against things like Night March, things like Vespiquen, being able to take energy off the board really quickly, especially if you're going second and they throw down a DCE, you're able to take that off the board right away. Um, Even against the mirror, if you are quaking punching or something like that and they try and get a Giratina going, you can easily take off energy like that. Going second, which is ideal in the mirror, if they attach a DC, you can get rid of it right away without using a supporter. Evil Tall, it gets rid of a lot of their main sources of damage. So, no, I don't say I would regret the fourth Crushing Hammer. I would have liked it. I would have liked to force Super Scoop up more. Um, in the yeah, I took out the 4 Super Scoop Up for a Tool Scrapper because I think Tool Scrapper actually was the most important card in the deck. Um, I knew whatever I was going to play at Fort Wayne, it was going to have a Tool Scrapper or a Megaphone in it because those cards are just so good going into that weekend, and I do not regret it at all. I used it every single game, every single match. Um, but that's the only thing I would really like would be the 4 Super Scoop Up. The 3 Crushing Hammer I think is fine.
Okay. All right. Now, in your list, you did play like the 2 Verbank and 1 Silent Lab. What was the reason behind the 1 Silent Lab?
The one silent, well, the I had 3 Verbank in, but I decided to go with the 1 Silent Lab for uh, like a multitude of things. If I can get a Silent Lab out and then a Chaos Wheel off of Giratina that shuts off Russian, it shuts off Dark Cloak. Is that Dark
Yeah,
Rise
Dark Cloak.
ability?
Yeah.
Dark Cloak. Shuts off Dark Cloak. I couldn't remember. It shuts off Versatile. It shuts off Setup. It shuts off so many things. Even just dropping it really early in the game and just forcing them to either find a counter stadium or just not use their abilities for the turn. Hoopa's ability is another one that's really important. It's one of those cards where I think was definitely worth the spot, especially in decks against Evil Tall. It's super important because if you can get a Chaos Wheel with the Silent Lab in play, you're able to get those lasers off and everything. There's not going to be any chance for them to retreat. Um, so yeah, I like the 1 Silent Lab. I don't think I would change that either. I honestly like my list a lot. It might sound a little vain, but I like this list a lot, and I can't see a whole lot of changes I would make. The only thing I was thinking of was dowsing machine over the computer search, but I decided against that before the event started.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. I mean, it's usually I ask like what changes you want to make to your deck, but you pretty much already went through everything about that. All right. Okay. So let's talk about how many championship points do you have right now?
Right now, I have 135 from second place, 15 from top 64 at Lancaster, and 15 from a league challenge, so 165.
Okay. All right. So if Worlds is 300 points, we still don't know yet. You're already halfway there. So there you go.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. And actually in our finals match with Frank, we were joking around before starting. He's like, I don't even need to go into any more events. I pretty much have my Worlds invite right now.
Well, we know Frank. He'll go somewhere else. He'll try to get the
Oh
top
yeah,
16 for sure.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Now, coming up next is pretty much cities. Like, there's no other tournaments besides that. I mean, league challenges. But for cities, if it is expanded, are you going to stick with the Totina deck, or is there something that's piquing your interest instead?
Um, if it's still expanded, I would consider it. It honestly depends on just whatever break does. I have no idea. I haven't looked at any of the scans for it. Um, I'm usually in the dark about these things until they come out. But as of right now, I could see this being a very viable option. Um, it doesn't. It might gain a few things, but it really isn't going to lose a lot. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of energy acceleration going on coming up, as far as I'm aware.
There's
Uh,
like a Magnezone, I think, or something like that. It's like it's
yeah,
electric type Pokemon now.
yeah. But I mean, if there is, maybe not. If I'm not expecting there to be a whole lot of it, I would consider it. Um, I think it's still going to be a good deck. I would not try and play this deck in standard at all. Not right now, at least. You lose way too much. I've seen people try and make this standard, but if you without laser, this deck is not good at all. This deck is really not good without laser and Verbank. Um, there's no denying that. You
For
really
sure.
need it. But expanded, yeah, I would keep this in the back of my mind as something that could be really good sleeper hit at some point.
Okay. Now, speaks. You talked about standard summon, and you thought this deck's pretty much useless in standard. What are some other decks you might consider in standard, or are you trying to keep those a secret?
I haven't been messing around a whole lot with standard. I've been way too focused with regionals and expanded, and then school and work and other stuff. But right now, I think that Vespiquen's really good. Um, just really quick, things like that. It's I'm not sure if I would play it necessarily. I feel like there is like the supporters are kind of weird for Vespiquen. I haven't figured out a good supporter line to play with it to make it consistent, but not deck itself out on turn one.
Yeah, true.
Um, just there are some pretty cool cards in this and that are in standard right now. One that I really like that I saw Dylan Bryan playing was the Entei from I don't remember what set, but it's
Nova
Absol.
Souls.
No, it's the
Oh.
other one. It's basically Absol's attack from Plasma Freeze, 20+20 for each Pokemon on your opponent's bench, but for 2 fire.
Hmm.
Um, so, I mean, that's a blacksmith away from 120 damage. That's definitely a card I would look into, messing around with, come standard. But I know that like Andrew Mahone and a couple other people I know have been talking a lot of standard. So, if I have any real questions or concerns, I can always address them to them. They're pretty
Nice.
good about putting me in the loop on those kinds of things, which I'm grateful for.
It's always great to have people who know how to play Pokemon. I always ask them for help. I mean,
Hmm.
that's how I started out too. I mean, I always ask people for help when you don't know what's going on. All right. Now you did give a couple of shout outs already, but do you want to give any more shout outs to anybody?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Okay.
First, let's just go. Thank you, Andrew Mahone, JW, Jimmy Pendarvis, and Justin Bookter for letting me borrow cards for the deck because I had left mine in a deck box at home.
Oh
So,
man.
also sorry to all those people because those cards are now destroyed. My shuffling is pretty bad. Um, like to thank everybody in the Northeast Ohio area who came to support me. Um, People like obviously Nicholas Bailey, love you, bud. Natalie, Kevin Baxter. Who else is there? Michael Zeely. I feel like I'm missing some obvious ones. Stephen McGaffney. Miss people and they're gonna be mad, but
I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to do.
but
Uh,
thank you to everyone who is watching my games. I really appreciate that. Like to thank just everybody who watched the stream. Was surprised by the amount of nice comments I got on Verbank afterwards. So I really appreciate that. I'd like to thank my mom. Thanks, mom. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Alrighty, man. Well, thank you for doing the interview. Once again, congrats on getting second at your, I guess, your first tournament really placing, which is great there. You know, it's cool to get second. But thanks to everybody watching. Hope you have a great day. Alrighty, bye.